Tonight, we examine two figures who walk that razor-thin line between Hollywood's elite and its shadowy underworld. Sammy Davis Jr., one of the greatest entertainers of his time, and Michelle Trachtenberg, a child star who grew up in the industry, only to disappear into isolation.
Sammy Davis Jr. wasn't just a performer, he was a cultural force. He broke racial barriers, he rubbed shoulders with presidents, and he became one of the most beloved figures in entertainment. But for all the light that surrounded him, there was always something darker lurking just out of sight. In 1968, Sammy Davis Jr. was invited to a private gathering in the Hollywood Hills. At first, it seemed like just another exclusive party, one of the many elite affairs that only the rich and powerful attended. But this was something else. As he was led deeper into the mansion, the energy in the room changed, the laughter dimmed, the music faded, and what remained was a hushed reverence. A long corridor stretched before him, leading to a room dimly lit by candlelight. The air smelled of incense, but also something else. Something metallic. A woman lay on a raised platform, draped in red cloth, her expression blank. Figures stood around her in black robes and masks, whispering in low, rhythmic voices. Then, Anton LaVey stepped forward. LaVey greeted Sammy as if they were old friends. He spoke of power, indulgence, and the rejection of societal norms. He offered Sammy something that few in Hollywood had been given, a chance to see what was behind the curtain. Sammy was intrigued. He wasn't a religious man, and LaVey's philosophy of embracing self-interest and pleasure appealed to him. But the deeper he looked into the church, the more he began to notice something unsettling. At first, it was just the atmosphere, a sense that he was being watched, that something in the room was aware of his presence in a way that went beyond the people surrounding him. Then, it was the rituals. He had been told they were symbolic, theatrical, a rejection of mainstream religious morality. But as he stood in that room, watching the masked figures move in meticulously rehearsed precision, something inside him shifted. For the first time, he felt real fear. Sammy tried to laugh it off in later interviews. He joked about it, calling it a phase. But the truth was much more complicated. Because after that night, he changed. He stopped wearing the Baphomet medallion that had once been a symbol of his initiation. He cut off contact with certain people, and he refused to talk about what he had really seen. Some believe that Sammy Davis Jr. left the Church of Satan because he saw something real, something that wasn't just ritual or symbolism or performance, something that made him want out. But Hollywood doesn't forget, and once you open a door in this town, it's not always easy to close it. On February 26, 2025, actress Michelle Trachtenberg was found dead in her Manhattan apartment at the age of 39. No autopsy, no official cause of death. Just silence. From Nickelodeon's Child Star Factory to the eerie parallels with Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut and Hollywood's elite social circles, Michelle's life and her death raise questions that no one in the industry wants to answer. Was she just another forgotten star? Or did she get too close to something that doesn't forgive? Michelle Trachtenberg wasn't just another child star. She was the face of an era, one of the young actors who helped build Nickelodeon into the powerhouse of 90s children's television. Born in 1985, she started acting at just 3 years old, appearing in over 100 commercials before landing her first major role in Nickelodeon's The Adventures of Pete and Pete in 1994. But it was Harriet the Spy in 1996, Nickelodeon's first ever feature film, that made her a household name. For millions of kids, she was a hero, a smart, independent girl in a world that encouraged curiosity. But behind the scenes, Nickelodeon wasn't all laughs and slime. There was something else lurking beneath the surface. The 90s and early 2000s were Nickelodeon's golden years. Shows like All That, The Amanda Show, and Drake and Josh made it the most powerful children's network on television. But what the public didn't see was the growing culture of secrecy, manipulation, and control behind the scenes. Dan Schneider, the producer behind many of Nickelodeon's biggest hits, was later accused of exploiting young actresses, creating disturbing on-set environments, and exerting an unhealthy amount of control over his stars. While Michelle wasn't one of Schneider's main protégés, she was still a child actor in a system that didn't protect its own, a system where young stars were vulnerable to the unchecked power of those above them. Many actors from that era, Amanda Bynes, Drake Bell, Jeanette McCurdy, would later speak out about the pressure, the mental strain, and the things they were forced to stay silent about. And Michelle? She never spoke out. Instead, she disappeared. Michelle wasn't just a child star. She was invited into the next level of Hollywood. Her role in Buffy, the Vampire Slayer in 2000, made her part of one of the most influential TV franchises of all time. And later, her role as Georgina Sparks in Gossip Girl connected her to New York's elite social circles. She was in the right rooms, at the right parties, with the right people. But as we've seen before, not all invitations are what they seem. Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut was marketed as a psychological thriller, but many believe it was something else entirely, a warning. The film depicts a hidden world of the rich and powerful, engaging in secret ceremonies, masked gatherings, and rituals that mirror real-life accounts from former insiders. Some believe Kubrick was trying to expose Hollywood's elite social circles, and that his sudden death, just days after delivering the final cut, was no coincidence. Now here's where it gets eerie. Michelle was a known guest at exclusive invite-only parties, the kind where phones weren't allowed, where the people who attended were the ones with real power. The same types of gatherings depicted in Eyes Wide Shut. Coincidence? Or was she closer to that world than anyone realized? By 2020, Michelle was almost entirely out of the public eye. No new major roles, no appearances at major Hollywood events. She stopped speaking about her career. As she moved away from child roles, Michelle became involved with some of Hollywood's biggest names, some of whom had their own controversies. Joss Whedon, her Buffy, the Vampire Slayer director, faced multiple accusations of creating a toxic work environment, especially toward young actresses. She was represented by Gersh Agency, a talent agency that has deep connections to Hollywood's elite circles. Some of her social acquaintances included individuals with indirect ties to major industry scandals, including some associated with Jeffrey Epstein's larger network of connections. Michelle never directly addressed these connections, but by 2023, her presence in Hollywood had all but vanished. And then, in 2025, she was gone. A final Instagram post, which was later deleted, said, "They're always watching. No cause of death, no autopsy, just silence."
Tonight, we examine two figures who walk that razor-thin line between Hollywood's elite and its shadowy underworld. Sammy Davis Jr., one of the greatest entertainers of his time, and Michelle Trachtenberg, a child star who grew up in the industry, only to disappear into isolation.